Thank you. Normally when I give speeches and talks, I talk about what's going to happen in the first 15 minutes involved in a self-defense shooting. I can cover that, or if you've got specific questions you want to have addressed, I'll cover those. Otherwise, we can just talk about generally Florida law under 790. Some of the things that I keep getting asked about are, do I have to have a concealed weapons permit to carry a firearm in my vehicle? And I don't use the word weapons. They're not always weapons. Sometimes they're just tools. The way Florida currently addresses the carrying of a firearm in your vehicle is that it cannot be something where if you were in a fast draw gunfight, you would have more of an advantage or an equal advantage to a law enforcement officer stopping you. So if he or she is wearing her firearm on their side, you shouldn't have your firearm on your person without a concealed weapons permit. You should have at least one more step than they do. So if it's in a case, zipped or unzipped, that's considered stowed. If it's in your glove box or your center console, even if it's not in something else, that'll be considered stowed. You will often find that you will get asked if you have a firearm. I would recommend that you answer that question truthfully. But if it doesn't come up, don't bring it up unless you're wearing it. All right? If you're wearing it and you're asked to get out of the vehicle, tell the officer that you are carrying a firearm, because that's not something you want to have them surprised by. They want to go home at the end of the day. They want to go home. And they're suddenly going to be concerned that you're going to try to stop that from happening. And I will tell you, having been married twice and divorced twice, I was in the car with my last ex-wife, and we were going to Miami for a hearing that I had to go to, and I got pulled over in my new 350Z convertible. And I was probably going a little faster than I should have. But she needed to go shopping before the hearing, so it's not my fault. I could not get my wallet out of my pocket in that particular vehicle because it's wee. And so I told the officer, it's a trooper actually, that I had the registration in the trunk with my briefcase. And I turned my feet and was seated on the edge of the seat with my hands out in front of me, about to stand up to get out of the car, when my last ex-wife expressed loudly, "Look out, he's got a gun." Try to do your impression of an icicle, if that ever happens to you, because I was surprised at the speed of the size of that person. Matt Dillon could not have moved as fast as that guy did. And he would not have missed, because it was sort of like that. And then he asked me, "Do you?" I went, "Yes, sir." "Where is it?" "It's in my pockets." "You have more than one?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" "Because I have more than one pocket." I got up very slowly, and I went to the back of the car, and I opened the trunk, and that's when he saw the stuff I don't carry. He's like, "Are you expecting trouble?" "Yep." And his phone rang, and he stepped back away from me backwards, because apparently whatever was on that call he really needed to take, and he answered the phone. And I'm looking over the back of the trunk of the car into the car at my last ex-wife, texting someone. And I hear the trooper say, "Yes." "How do you know that?" "Really?" "Okay." And my wife has gotten on Facebook. And she has sent out a message on Facebook to one of my client troopers. And he has called this trooper. And he walked up and he goes, gets my license, gets my concealed weapons permit, tells me I should have told him I had a firearm as soon as we had the interaction. Gives me my license, my registration, my concealed weapons permit. And then he asks me, "Is that your wife?" "Yeah." "You know, I just got a call from, I won't say his name, trooper, somebody." "Really?" "Yeah, she's already sent that out on Facebook." "Mm-hmm. Do you have a lot of insurance?" "I do." "She wants it, doesn't she?" And that's one of the reasons why she's my last ex-wife. Craig's met my next ex-wife. Actually, that's what he called her, was my next ex-wife. And she's not younger than my youngest child. She's younger than my oldest child, but she's not younger than my youngest child. First 15 minutes. This is what you really need to know. I tell everybody, don't talk to the police, because they are the police. They will convince you you need to talk to them. You do not need to talk to them. You may want to talk to them. You may feel compelled to talk to them. Don't talk to them. Masad Ayub and I have had a very lengthy argument at several conventions about whether you should or shouldn't talk to law enforcement. And I have agreed that he is correct. There is certain information you should share with law enforcement. And it kind of goes like this. I called you. I called you. You know why? Because bad guys don't call the police. I will press charges. That's the one thing they want to know the most of. You going to press charges against this person? I am. Here is the important evidence. And the reason that Masad and I had this argument was that he had a case where he was a detective on, where he arrived and people cleaning the parking lot to get ready to repave it had blown the shell casings off the scene. And if it hadn't been for the victim pointing out where they'd gone, there would have been no weapon that was used against them, because this person had thrown their gun into the back of a pickup truck in a parking lot and that truck had left. It just so happened he took pictures of all the cars around. And if you get in a self-defense issue like that and you're in public, do not do this to figure out if somebody else is after you, because you'll become a bullet magnet. Go to the Brazilian stack. It does two things. It lets civilians realize you're not pointing the gun at them. And it lets anybody with any experience with a firearm know that's not an amateur. It'll also give you the opportunity to be in a position where you can just go, "Yep, thank you, officer," and just safe your gun. If you've got somebody with you, have them grab you by the belt and look the other way. If you're standing there with a firearm and there's a person laying on the ground, they're doing a really, really good impression of a victim, even though they're one that came at you. What you don't want is some off-duty officer coming up behind you and putting one round through the back of your head because you're standing there with a gun. The person holding on your belt can be looking the other way and go, "Hey, Dad, Mom, honey, police are here. Safe your gun." And then tell them, "I will give you a statement as soon as I'm cleared medically and I speak to my attorney." Now, sometimes they'll accept that, sometimes they won't. That's when you just repeat the mantra, "Lawyer. Lawyer." Yes? Lawyer. I had a lady that she had come to Heels and Holsters event, and I had spoken, and her children were there. A 7-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy. And the boy and the girl had both taken my cards, which I thought was cute. And this is another thing, just keep this in mind. There are two kinds of people you may be engaged with where you have to defend yourself. Someone you don't know and someone you know. If you have an interaction with someone you know and you use deadly force, you are going to go to jail. Just get ready for the ride. Don't try to fight about it. You're going to take the ride, because there's no way an average law enforcement officer on the street is going to try to make a determination whether you did or didn't have the right to defend yourself against somebody you knew. It's going to look a little too convenient. This woman had dated someone and they had broken up, and he was not accepting that circumstance. She had come home, pulled into her garage, and he appeared behind her car. They had an interaction. She defended herself. He did not die, but he was going to walk with a limp for a while after that. They took those children and tried to get statements from them. And they don't care. I mean, God bless law enforcement, but they have an objective. They have a job. Their job is to arrest people. The courts enforce the law. The police arrest people. They started asking the 7-year-old girl what happened with mommy and the man. And she said, and I got the body camera video, she said, "You want me to tell you about mommy and Patrick?" "Yeah." "Lawyer." She had a little Disney phone. She peeled the cover off and took my card out of it. And that's the way Mike carries my card now, is inside the cover of his phone, because he knows they're going to take his phone away from him. The odds are that if he gets arrested, I'm probably going to be there anyway, but it doesn't make any difference. Earl carries the bail money. Oh, by the way, I have the replenishment for you. It's in here. If you're in public, police are going to arrive. And you need to make sure that they know you're the victim. You get on the phone with 911, and some of you have seen me play this game. You're attacking me. No, you're attacking me because you look differently. No, it's red. Okay. He's attacking me. You are going to make a call to, oh, no, I'm going to do this better. You're attacking him.
Okay.
Okay?
Because I'm a Jew, right?
Is it because he's black?
I'm sorry, I thought you were Hindu.
Right. Okay, let's cut it.
Pork, not beef. Got it. Sorry, my bad. I'm going to be the 911 operator. Call 911.
I'm calling 911.
You're calling 911.
Not for real, simulate.
I get it.
Oh, he is Jewish. Just, okay.
I've been the victim.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Police and medical. I've been the victim of a violent crime.
Oh, where are you, sir?
Rainbow Springs State Park.
What's happened?
I was attacked.
Are you injured?
No, somebody here has been shot.
Who's been shot, sir?
Somebody here has been shot.
Can you describe the victim for me?
Yes, but I need you to send to medical.
They're en route, sir.
He's wearing a red sweatshirt and jeans.
Okay. What did he just do? That's the victim now.
Yeah.
You're the victim.
What did you say?
Describe the victim. You don't have to answer 911's questions. They're not law enforcement. It's a trap. You can either not tell them
I'm the victim.
Yeah, you are now. You have a nice, you know good lawyers, right? You know good lawyers.
Couple. Apparently not.
That's why I picked you, because I knew See, lawyers use something called closure. They try to figure out what your question is going to be before you finish all the words, and he just did it. When you talk to 911, have rehearsed and even written on a card on your refrigerator what you need to tell them. And the reason that I say this is that the likelihood of you using a firearm and having hearing protection on is very, very slim. If you don't believe that this is the way it'll work, the next time you go to the range, right before you leave, get your phone out, take your hearing protection on, fire 3 rounds, and then try to have a conversation with one of your parents.
What?
Exactly. You're not going to understand what they're saying. You're not going to understand what 911 is saying. You can't hear it. Your ears are going to be ringing, and you're going to be so stressed you're not going to process all the words. And if you try to give a statement to 911, you're going to tell this story like this. The most important thing to you at the time is going to be your first version. And then when you get the first law enforcement officer there, you're going to tell them the second most important thing in your version of the story, because you've already told the first important thing, and so now your brain's processed to the second. And then when the next officer comes up, you're going to tell them the third most important thing, but it's going to be the first on your list. And now you have 3 stories that don't match, they're inconsistent, you're guilty. That's why you don't talk to the police. Call your lawyer, get your lawyer in the room with you, and you need to go over that with them at least 10 times, because they're going to write it down in chronological order. And then they're going to go back over it with you, and they're going to go, okay, what time did you get up this morning? And if they don't start the day before this happened, and because that's what it's going to do, it's going to stop your brain from processing the event, make you go back to what happened the day before, go through that in chronological order so that the story is in order in which it occurred. That's the way law enforcement wants to conduct an investigation. They want to do it in chronological order. They don't want to do it, they're going to say what happened. Because it's an open-ended question, they're going to get you to confess to them. I got attacked. Now, if you are hurt, and there's a chance you will be, believe me, I know, you're going to end up in the hospital. The staff's going to ask you what happened. Tell them what was done to you, not what you did. They don't need to know what you did in order to treat you physically. They aren't going to treat you emotionally right then. They're going to treat you physically. So tell them what happened to you, not what you did. Because there's going to be somebody around the corner listening to what you're saying. If you are at home and no one knows that you've defended yourself, you're going to have to make the decision. There's 3 things you have to decide. Can I render medical aid to the person that I've just used deadly force on? Will it place me at any greater risk? That's a personal decision you're going to have to make. Secondly, does anyone else know if that person's dead, you do not have to call 911 immediately? Okay. He's hungry. And really? 3 months you could go without food? Yeah. 8. I can go 8 months without food. There is nothing that says you have to call law enforcement if someone comes into your home and you use deadly force. So you can reach out to your attorney, contact your attorney. Your attorney should show up at the home, be there with you when law enforcement shows up. There's a case out of Tampa area where they didn't call law enforcement for 8 hours. 8 hours.
Was he already dead?
She had choked to death on his genitalia. I can understand why you can call police. That was a very weird case, but it set a precedent that says you basically don't have to call law enforcement. You can then have a chance to make sure that you have the sequence of events chronologically in your mind so that when you tell the story, it makes sense. And it's not just you jumping around like crazy. If you got questions, come ask me questions. They love to play Stump the Lawyer on the show, so we'll come play Stump the Lawyer.
We haven't won yet. We're trying.
Well, that's because I cheat. I change it's like change the scenario. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.